Texas and Penn State are out, so who takes their place? It's time for my updated playoff predictions heading into week 7. All right, let's just jump right in, and we will start with my number 1 team at the top. I'm going Ohio State. I think this team wins out. I think they win the Big Ten championship. Maybe they lose to Michigan. Of course, we've always got to consider that as a possibility. But other than that, I think they probably win the rest of their games. And again, I have them beating Oregon in the Big Ten championship. I've actually got Oregon as the 2 seed. So I think that whoever comes out of the SEC is going to have 2 losses. And I think Oregon finishes with just 1. Or maybe even they go undefeated in the regular season. It's looking, if they get by Indiana, it's actually looking more likely that Oregon does go undefeated. And so if they lose to Ohio State, they're still going to be ahead of the SEC champ. So Ohio State, Oregon, 1 and 2. And then we go to the 3 seed. I've got Georgia. That's who I think is going to win the SEC. I think they beat Alabama in a rematch in what should be another classic, I'm sure. That's how I see it playing out. I think Georgia possibly loses another game, or maybe they win out. We'll see. And to be fair, I haven't really looked at the tiebreakers, because if they finish with 2 losses, I have other 2-loss teams in there, and I'm kind of just assuming Georgia wins the tiebreaker, but because I know they'd have the head-to-head in some. But anyways, we won't go down that road. I'm going to go with Georgia for my prediction, and maybe they don't lose another game. But if that happens, what happens with them in Oregon? Maybe Georgia goes 2, Oregon 3. So a lot of different scenarios that could play out here. At 4, I'm going Miami. I think this team loses. I think they have, I can't remember if they play SMU on the road. That could be a tricky game. Just somewhere they're going to trip up, in my opinion. I don't think this team goes undefeated, but I do think they win the ACC championship with that 1 loss, and they get the 4 seed. 5 seed, Alabama. So I think Alabama, maybe they lose 1 game in the regular season, 1 more game, and then lose the game to Georgia in the SEC championship. So I've got them at 5. Feel pretty good about the Crimson Tide making the playoff after, of course, losing that game to Florida State. We didn't really expect them. A lot of people didn't expect them to be here, and I didn't for a while, but now it looks like Alabama is going to live up to those expectations. Number 6 for me, Texas A&M. Love this team, really high on this team. Their defense is playing great. The offense, they've got playmakers that they've added. I think this is a team that can get to 10-2, and I think that'll be enough to get them to the playoff, maybe even higher. So they could go 11-1, and then maybe it's Texas A&M, Alabama in the SEC championship if Georgia loses the second game, and Georgia will drop maybe to 6 or whatever. So I think A&M's a real player in the SEC, and I think this team will be in the college football playoff. Number 7, another team out of the SEC, Tennessee. I think they might lose a game, but 10-2 should be enough to get them in. And I think they're in a pretty good spot. So, Vols at number 7. And then we go to number 8. That is Texas Tech. I think Texas Tech loses 1 game in the regular season, but then they win the Big 12 championship. And so an 11-1 regular season with a conference championship, that should be enough to get them home field advantage as the number 8 seed. And they will play Indiana. So for the first time, we've got Indiana in the college football playoff field. I've had them going 10-2. Even in the preseason, I had them going 10-2. I still think they go 10-2, but I think the dominoes have fallen. There's been enough happen throughout the rest of college football to where now I think a 10-2 Indiana gets in. So I've got the Hoosiers at number 9. And if they can go on the road and beat Oregon, then you got to start talking about Indiana as maybe a top 4 seed. So maybe even a Big Ten champion. So this is a big opportunity coming up for them this weekend. At number 10, we've got Notre Dame. I still think they win out. I think this is an elite team. I know some of you disagree with that. But again, Miami, really good team. Notre Dame, really good team. They lost to those teams by 1 possession. So I think Notre Dame is going to win out. I think they're going to get in at number 10. Number 11 is really a tough one for me, that final spot. I'm looking at Michigan potentially because they've got a pretty favorable schedule, but the team that they lost to, I'm actually going to go with Oklahoma. So I think Oklahoma can still get to 9-3, and with the Mateer injury, I think the committee is going to rank them pretty high because they're going to take that into account. And even without that injury, a 9-3 Oklahoma with their schedule could be enough to get them in, because I don't see another out of the teams I've listed here, I don't think there's another 10-2 team. What happens if Michigan is 10-2? Oklahoma's 9-3. Oklahoma beat them head-to-head, and then we'll say 2 of Oklahoma's losses come without John Mateer. That would be a debate right there. So I think we're going to have some debates like we always do, and that final spot could be very, very interesting. And I'm going to go South Florida for the other team. To me, this team has shown the most upside potential to win big games, and that win over Florida, very impressive, and then the win over Boise State. So if they can win this weekend, then I feel pretty good about that prediction. But let's don't forget about Tulane, and let's don't forget about, again, North Texas, and also Memphis, and also UNLV. It's going to be a fun race to see who that Group of 5 team will be. Now, again, this video is mostly just to project what the bracket will look like. I didn't spend a ton of time thinking about these matchups, but we'll just run through them just for the fun of it. Please do not get hung up on these games now that we have set the bracket. If you want to make comments, if you want to criticize or compliment or whatever you have to say, make your comments about what you see right now, not what you're about to see, because this video, again, is really about just predicting the playoff field and the bracket. But just for fun, let's go through the games. I think Texas Tech at home has a great shot, but I'm going to Indiana here because they've been there. They've been to the college football playoff, and sometimes that matters, and just having that experience. So I think that they actually go on the road and pull off maybe a slight upset. I think Bama beats South Florida, and they will advance. And then we got Tennessee, Notre Dame. This is one that I could see really going either way, but I really like this Notre Dame team, and I think they're capable of going on the road and pulling off an upset. So Notre Dame over Tennessee, and then Texas A&M versus Oklahoma. Possibly the 2 best teams in the SEC. Maybe. And if they do turn out to be the 2 best teams, then they probably finish a little bit higher than this. But Oklahoma especially does have a really tough schedule. This would be a great game. I mean, this would just be a really great game. But like I said, I'm high on A&M. I think A&M wins this game at home. That is a tough place to play. And for a playoff game, yeah, that would be tough. Then we've got Ohio State versus Indiana in the Rose Bowl. Should be a good one, but I think Ohio State's defense too much. They win that game. Bama, Miami. Oh boy, this is a tough one to predict. I just think Miami's a little bit better, though. I'm going to go with the Hurricanes to win there in the Orange Bowl. Then we've got Oregon, Notre Dame. Oregon has looked like maybe the best team in the country thus far. I think they will win this game. And then A&M, Georgia. I'm going to go upset here. I talked about how much I like this Texas A&M team. They beat Georgia. They get to the semifinals. Then we got Ohio State, Miami, Oregon, Texas A&M. We'll go Miami. We'll go with Miami here in this game, and then Oregon on the other side. Last week I picked Oregon as my national champion, so I'm going to stick with that for now. We'll see what they look like against Indiana. Right now, I'm going to say Oregon, but I think that Ohio State and Miami are definitely in this, in my mind, in this debate. So I'm trying to think, out of these 3 teams, which one will it be? I think Ohio State, Miami, or Oregon. Those are the 3 teams with the best shot to win it all, at least at this point. Maybe A&M is that good. Maybe Alabama is that good. I don't know if there's a team out of the SEC that's going to do it, but we'll see. SEC, it feels like it doesn't have an elite team, but maybe they got a bunch of elite teams. Who knows? I mean, they did do really well in the non-conference, so that'll be really interesting to see how the SEC does in the playoff this year after they did not do great last year. But again, those are my updated playoff predictions. Enjoy week 7. A lot of huge games. It should be a lot of fun.